part 2 of Box to Box. Our second guest now joining us. We are joined by a former player for Liverpool, West Ham, Wigan, Preston and Sheffield Wednesday, who is now commentating for Sky Sports and LFC TV. We are delighted to be joined by Neil Mellor. Neil, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you for that introduction. How are you both?
Very well, thank you.
Very good, very good. I know you're going to hate me because obviously I've got a picture of cancer now. You're a Liverpool man, so, I'd like to apologise, but, I can't do nothing about that. It's just part of the setup, unfortunately.
Hate's a very strong word. At the moment, I'm quite happy because the team you support are way off my team, Liverpool. So at the moment, I'm okay with that.
Let's talk about yourself, Neil. Obviously, a football player, played for various clubs, known for your time at Liverpool and then going to Preston as well. But you're enjoying life as a commentator, as a pundit, as an analyst. How's life treating you at the moment?
It's been weird, hasn't it? Sort of 2020 has been different for strange for a lot of people and for myself as well. I was fortunate enough during my career to play, so I got to experience that. That was obviously a dream that I'd always wanted to do. Started at Liverpool, as you said. I mentioned the previous clubs as well. But when it came to the end of my career, it was one of those times where I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I wanted to focus on what I could do. So the media side of things was something that really interested me. Like you say, I work at Sky Sports, I work at Liverpool, and I do a variety of different roles. So I've written for the local newspapers. I still write for the Liverpool Monthly magazine. I'm sure you've got that magazine recently, haven't you? It's a great magazine that I'm sure you can both enjoy. So I do the written side of it. The radio was where I really started. I learned sort of my identity as a media person, and then even now reporting at games. I just love the game. So I've always believed that because of the passion I have for the game, there's no right or wrong with football. Football's about opinion, and it's, we can all have our own opinion. You're like Cantona behind you. I should have maybe Mo Salah behind me. It's one of those things. It's great, and that's why I love it.
Well, we get to start off talking about the success that Liverpool have had this season. So very positive start. How did you feel, obviously, being a Liverpool man, about the season that they've had? It's unbelievable.
It was an incredible season. I think with Liverpool going so close last season and running Man City very close to that title, I think a lot of people thought, can Liverpool maintain those levels again this season? It was a disrupted pre-season. They had players all around the world in various competitions. The Nations League was going on. The English boys, the Dutch boys were involved in that. And the African Cup of Nations was going on. Mane, Salah, Keita were all involved in that. And the Brazilian boys won the Copa America as well. So it was really difficult time pre-season for Liverpool. And you were thinking, can Liverpool maintain those levels, having had such a difficult pre-season? But they did. Blistering start to the season. And that gave them the confidence to kick on. I think winning the Champions League helped Liverpool last year, because that gave them the confidence to get over the line and actually win something huge, because in previous years, almost being there, whereas winning the Champions League was huge.
With winning the Premier League, the actual hardest part, I think Sir Alex spoke about, is sort of retaining the Premier League. With Liverpool, they did it in convincing fashion this year. Last year, arguably they could have won it if it weren't for Man City and Pep Guardiola's this fantastic run at the end. But do you feel like with Klopp, with the players that you have at this present time, that you can retain that Premier League?
I'm guessing Man United don't want us to. And that's why you're referring back to that Alex Ferguson quote. It's going to be difficult. Of course it's going to be difficult. Man City weren't happy to have been 18 points behind. Man United weren't happy with being over 30 points behind again. So those teams will certainly look to close that gap. Chelsea seem like they're recruiting really well, don't they, for next season. The thing for Liverpool is they have a real settled team that have an understanding and are playing extremely well. The only concern I have for Liverpool not to compete for the title again is if key players get injured. Alisson, best goalie in the world, gets injured. Van Dijk misses a few games. Front three get crucial games. If Liverpool have injuries to key players next year, that will certainly affect the title race. But if all those players are fit again, Liverpool will be right in the mix to reclaim that title again.
What do you think of Klopp as a manager? Do you think that he's got everything that's needed to win it again next year?
Yeah, I think Klopp, when he came to Liverpool, he was well liked from his time at Dortmund. I think there was a few clubs that wanted Klopp. Liverpool were fortunate to get him. And if you look where Liverpool were to where Liverpool are now, It's had a huge impact on the football club, on the whole city, and I think the Premier League as well. He's brought a connection to the football club that was certainly missing at Liverpool, and he has been absolutely huge to turn Liverpool into title winners from a side competing to try and get into the top four. So very grateful for what he has brought to Liverpool.
Do you feel like Liverpool's squad is a bit thin? When I speak to a lot of Liverpool fans, they say that if there was an injury to, example, Mo Salah, Sadio Mane, maybe even Virgil van Dijk, there isn't ready replacements for them. Whereas when you look at Man City, they've got people like Bernardo Silva sitting on the bench. Sometimes Aguero's on the bench. So they've got good people off the bench. Do you feel like Liverpool do need to get signing very soon?
Well, I think we all look at the reports, don't we? And Liverpool, like Man United, will be linked to 50, 60 players over this time, which is the transfer window. How many are actually serious contenders to sign at Liverpool? I don't know. What I do know is that Liverpool now are in a position, having won the Premier League title, World Club Cup, Champions League last year, to attract any player they want in world football. Now, that is the big difference. So when Klopp came, you asked that question about Jurgen Klopp a few moments ago. When Jurgen came in, it was difficult for Liverpool to compete for the best players in the world. Now, Liverpool have that attraction with the manager, with the style of play, with the supporters, the size of the football club. So the attraction will be there for the players, but it's just who fits for Liverpool and the manager. You can talk about players like Werner being brilliant for Leipzig, Thiago at Bayern Munich, but if those players don't fit what the manager wants to settle into this group of players who are really, really close, then they're not going to arrive at Liverpool. So there's no worry that the manager will recruit how he wants to. The trust is there. Last summer Liverpool got 97 points. Didn't bring anyone in. Everyone was saying got to bring someone in. Didn't bring anyone in, and won the Premier League title. So the trust is certainly there that the manager will recruit who he wants to.
A name that keeps popping up, and you mentioned him there, is Thiago from Bayern Munich, putting another great performance against Chelsea the other day. It seems like, I'm not sure, because the same thing went on with Werner, that Klopp wanted him. I don't know if it was the fee that put him off, if it was the wages. But with Thiago, it seems like it's a very low fee for a great player. It's about 30 million, they call it, 35 million pounds. What do you reckon of him as a signing for Liverpool Football Club?
Talented player, very talented player. Like you say, he was brilliant, wasn't he, against Chelsea? Big part of what Bayern Munich have going on there. He's in his last year of his contract next year, so that's why his fee would be so low. Obviously, Bayern Munich want to keep him there for the Champions League run, which is understandable. So that's perhaps why the reason we haven't seen him move on. Like I say, I think for Liverpool, if he is a player who ticks the box to fill a position that Liverpool need, then they'll bring him in. I mean, Fabinho has been absolutely brilliant in midfield for Liverpool, probably the key midfield player. Jordan Henderson just got Player of the Year. You've got Oxlade-Chamberlain, you've got Keita in there, Lallana's just left, you've got young Curtis Jones. There's a lot of quality in Liverpool's midfield already, so it's not as if Liverpool are desperate for a player in any position at the moment. I think cover for left back is certainly one position they will look to add, but Thiago's a great player, but whether Liverpool want to get that deal done, I'm not too sure.
Is there a particular player that you would like to see come into the team that you've heard there's been talk about, and there's actually that you think would really benefit Liverpool?
Do you know what? I look at players and I think, great player, but how would you fit into Liverpool's team? I think Liverpool have got it right, 1 to 11 at the moment. I know you mentioned about the squad being thin, and yeah, you can certainly argue that. Players, I look at players that Liverpool could potentially get. I love Lewandowski, for instance. For me, he's the best striker in world football. But would that be a good signing for Liverpool? Would he maybe unsettle the front three? How expensive would it be? Would that be a realistic target? Probably not. So you look at players, and Liverpool have done this in the past. Bought players from relegated clubs. Think about Shaqiri in the past. Think about Gini Wijnaldum in the past. It could be an option there. I quite like, if you're looking at the relegated clubs, Sarr, the boy at Watford. I think he's a very talented player. I think he's a player who could benefit from somebody like Jurgen Klopp as a manager. Not a guaranteed starter, but I think he could really progress to be a top player. Again, what sort of fee he would attract, I don't know. But I think he would be the one that I'd look at and say, out of the relegated clubs, I'd fancy a punt on him.
There's also a left-back from Olympiacos that seems to be doing the rounds. There was talks about Jamal Lewis from Norwich, and it seems like, you know, a deal isn't getting put in place. They want quite a bit of money. I think they want about 25 million. I'm not sure Liverpool are willing to pay out that much. But there seems to be another left back from Olympiacos. What have you heard in regards to that?
I've heard the reports, but I've not mastered his name yet. So forgive me with that one. I know obviously that they knocked Arsenal out of the Europa League. I don't watch a lot of Greek football. I don't know a great deal about them. I know it's a position Liverpool need to sort of strengthen for cover, because only James Milner's been covered at left full back. The boy Lewis at Norwich seems an ideal replacement because he knows the league. I think he knows the lads as well. Obviously, I think Trent and Andy Robertson have a link, certainly with the agent maybe there. So it made sense. But if Norwich are going to price the boy out of a move, then Liverpool aren't going to pay over the odds. You know, Liverpool are in a position, like I said before, don't need to be paying over the odds anymore because of the position Liverpool find themselves. Best team in the Premier League. We've got the manager, the club to say, if you want to come and play for us, we'll pay the money, but we won't pay over the odds. So the left back who's coming in would obviously be cover because Robertson's been absolutely brilliant this season.
Do you think that, although you say Liverpool are in a position to sort of almost attract any player they want, is it almost a case of the team that is there is too good, really? So that if someone comes in, they will be, if everything goes to plan as the team is, they'll be on the bench. Does that do you think, some players off?
I think it will do, yeah. I think it would put some players off. But also, if you're thinking, Liverpool want to sign me, I can be training, playing with the best players in the world, and I believe in myself to get in that team. I want to get in that team. I think I'm good enough. I think as players, you do believe that, and you will get that opportunity. So I think there'll be some players who are put off by that, yeah, because they're thinking there's no way I'm getting in that team. But there'll be others who'll think, no, I fancy my chances. I think I want to work for this manager. I want to play for this football club, and I want to get that opportunity to try and get into the team.
Neil, I just want to talk to you because you've been obviously a former football player, professional football player yourself. The sort of period that we're in is a bit crazy. There's been game on game. Every day there was a game. And there's not even much rest until next season. So when I look at next season, I feel like some players might not even be 100% in that season. There's going to be no winter break. So it's going to be intense again next season. Do you feel like we could possibly see the quality drop a little bit in the Premier League because of what's gone on, you know, with this crazy period that we've gone through?
I don't know. It was great to have it back, wasn't it? I think at one point you were thinking we weren't going to see any football, but we did get the football back, albeit different because there was no fans inside the stadium. I want to see the fans back as soon as possible because for me, football's not the same without the fans. Football is nothing without the fans, we know that. But the atmosphere that they generate, the passion that they can create, and they can change momentums of games as well. And I think we saw that every game I watched. I don't know if you guys were the same, but I felt as though I had to watch it with the sound normal. I couldn't have the fake fan noise because I wanted to actually see how real the game was rather than the fake fan noise, because the fans give so much to a game of football. And without the fans, you can hear the coach shouting and all the other players. And that was real for me. It's very difficult to play football in almost like that with an empty stadium with no fans there. So credit to the players for getting on with it and giving us those remaining games. But I really hope that when the season does start, I think they're saying October, aren't they? We may have 4 or 5 games without the fans. I think they'll make a massive difference. So as soon as they get back, we'll see that product get better.
I do agree that watching it without any crowd noise is sort of more realistic. You can hear what's going on. But what I did find is when a goal was scored, because there was no reaction and the players weren't really celebrating, it was almost as if, oh, was that actually like, has it been disallowed? You know, because there was just nothing to actually say, yeah, that is a goal and that's what's happening. Yeah. It was almost like you second guess yourself, like, oh, maybe it's not, maybe it was offside or whatever it was. I thought that a little bit. So I was like torn between a little bit of crowd noise or none. I was sort of torn between it.
You can blame VAR as well. VAR has also created that doubt, hasn't it? People thinking, oh, what's going to happen here? Was he offside? Was my armpit offside? Well, what's going to be disallowed for here? I think that introduction hasn't helped sometimes, some of the celebrations.
Well, what do you make of VAR then? Obviously, you put it there that it's so articulate. It's actually to the toe of a footballer on how accurate it is. Do you feel like there needs to be some leeway? Because football's always been that game from when I was growing up watching them. The guy might have his foot a little bit, offside, but then you give the attacker the benefit. There was all of these sort of things that were happening when you're growing up, but now it's just very, very strict. Do you feel like it's ruining the game a little bit?
You're talking to a former striker. I must have had so many goals disallowed if VAR was in play. I think for the ones where we keep seeing like 2-3 minutes, is it offside? We keep seeing all these lines drawn. You think, just give them the benefit of the doubt, and that's what I honestly believe. A toenail here. It was offside. 3 passes in the build-up. Did that really affect the goal? Not too sure it did. Haven't enjoyed that side of it. The handball law. Rather than blaming VAR, that's a law that I think will be changed for next season, which I haven't enjoyed as well. Accidental handballs on a striker disallowed, but it can hit a defender and that's okay. So I think VAR has got a lot right, but I think it's brought a lot of frustration to what has been a really good product. And if you want to start upsetting the fans, you need to get the fans on board with that. And I don't think the fans have enjoyed it as much as I think what the authorities wanted.
Is there a happy medium, though, with keeping VAR, but then maybe having it so that certain rules are changed so that it's not used for things that are a certain number of passes back or whatever? Is there a sort of happy medium that can be made with that?
I don't know. For me, VAR was introduced for the one where you were thinking, how has the referee or the officials missed that? Where you're thinking, that is just ridiculous. Everyone's seen it. But I'm seeing things like red card decisions that are subjective. You might think it's a red card, I might not, and if it's one of those penalties, there's been a lot of penalty decisions where again it's subjective. Is it, isn't it? And but that's what football is. And so for me to be given a VAR to say that definitely is or that definitely isn't on subjective decisions, we don't need the VAR for that. The referee's got to back himself and go, no, I think that's a penalty. There's enough in that. Unless there was no contact whatsoever, then that was the reason for VAR. But I'm seeing too many delays to the game, which I love, which I haven't enjoyed.
Before we let you go, I just need to ask you 1 or 2 questions about your playing career. First of all, what was the best playing moment for you? Whether it was a goal or... Because I refer back to that Arsenal goal, which was just... When you look back at it even nowadays, does that give you goosebumps when you look back at it?
I wish it was against Man United. No, do you know what? It was a great moment. Obviously, it was nice to. It was special because my family were there at Anfield that day. It was a significant game. Obviously, Arsenal were a great side back then. It was a Super Sunday, a real big audience. It was a big game of that era, and to share a moment like that with the supporters in the last minute was like. I think people likened it to a Roy the Rovers moment. And it was like that for me. It was a very, very special moment to score the winning goal in front of the Kop and then go home and watch it with my mum and dad at home. Match of the day. There you go.
Where does that Olympiacos game sort of rank in your moments as a football player?
Do you know what? I think that's bigger than the Arsenal one because of what we went on to achieve that year. Obviously, that was a group game in the Champions League, and at the time we didn't know how special that year would be, but it proved to be special, and it was nice to be part of a significant moment in Liverpool's history in terms of that night. Yes, I scored, which was great, but to set Steven Gerrard up for one of his great goals in a Liverpool shirt is also nice to have played a part in that. And again, it was that moment with the Kop, sharing it with the supporters, which made it even more special.
You did play alongside a lot of good players, but I want to know who you think the best player you ever played alongside was.
I reckon you could both guess. You know what? Yeah, I mean, Steven Gerrard was an unbelievable player. I mean, you guys got to see him on the pitch. I got to train with him, and that was what made him the best. Because every day at training, he wanted to be the best player at training. If it was horrible weather, if he felt as though he had a cold, it didn't matter. He wanted to be the best player every single day. So there's no excuse for the likes of myself, other players in the squad. Because Steven Gerrard, he's the best player in the match day, but he's also the best player every day in training. Whether he's playing right back, centre mid, centre forward, you can play him anywhere, and he would be the best player. So it was a joy to train with him, to play with him, to have breakfast with him, dinners with him, share a room with him. This guy was a great player of our generation. So honoured to have shared a pitch with Stevie.
Do you guys still keep in contact? Do you still keep in contact with like former Liverpool players from back in the day?
Yeah, I mean, social media seems to be the way forward. So if you ever see me tweet something, Jamie Carragher will be very quick to cane me about something. So that seems to be the easiest way to keep in touch. But there's still that respect, the memories there that we have. I'm sure if I needed to get in touch for any reason, they'd reply.
Neil,
Brilliant.
I want to thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure having a former Liverpool player on talking about Liverpool Football Club and the success. But definitely, hopefully, when the season starts again, it'll be great to talk again. We'll know by then who Liverpool have signed and what's going on with Klopp and his team.
I'm going to change my backdrop. It's going to have the Liverpool boys celebrating the trophy. Is that all right?
Come prepared next time.
Yeah, I will do. Thanks for having me.
I've gone neutral, so I'm just neutral ground.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you later.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, Neil.
Guys, thank you for watching Box to Box episode 5 in part 1. We had Rory Jennings talk about his beloved Chelsea. In part 2, we had Neil Mellor, who probably doesn't like me because I had that picture up, and he did sort of let you know. Talk about his beloved Liverpool, everything to do with that. Guys, we'd love your support, so we'd love a subscribe, share, like, comments, whatever you can do to support the channel, because we've got big guests coming up. Next week, especially for the West Ham fans, we've got 2 guests. We're going to be talking about West Ham and Mo. So we'd appreciate it if you guys could subscribe and like our stuff. And also hit that bell button to make sure that you get the notification for the next show. And we'll see you guys next week. Take care.